The meeting of Midtown Board will now come to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Barhu?
Present.
Mr. McGee?
Here.
Ms. Cato?
Here.
Ms. Ford?
Here.
Ms. Hurd?
Here.
Mr. Williams? Dr. Jameson?
Here.
Chairman Tooley?
Moving on, the invocation will be given by Pastor Bahu, pledged by Ms. Cato.
Let's bow our heads. Wonderful God, we come to say thank you. We thank you for this time. We thank you for this season. We thank you, God, for this meeting. We ask your blessing upon it. We pray that you'll give us direction. We pray that you'll bring us together and give us ideas, creative ideas, so that we can be a blessing to our community. We ask you now to bless our city and bless all our officials. In your precious name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. As we move on, approval of minutes for November 12th, 2013.
I would like to make a motion that the minutes from the November 12th, 2013 meeting be approved as typed and read.
Second.
It has been moved and properly second that the minutes be adopted. Are there any corrections to be made? I have one. On page 3, on page 4, please. That was an error, a typographical error there, stated that Mrs. Hurd stated there is space between the building and the sidewalk parking is permitted. That was an error. It was not stated that it is permissible to park between the building and the sidewalk. And I was referring to the building on the corner of page 4. I was referring to the building on the corner of Magnolia and MLK. We do have a problem there with code enforcement and others that they continue to park there. There was someone who was going to rent the building, but with the people continuing to park there, this person refused to rent it. So, are there any more corrections?
You want, you're changing that, it says sidewalk parking is not permitted.
It's not permitted. It was just the topic. Ma'am.
Which paragraph is that?
Page 4 midway.
In the middle of the page. 8.
paragraph.
It's not. It was just a typographical error there, that's all. If there are not any more corrections, the minutes will stand approved as printed. We're down to staff report. Is police report.
Good evening, Board. Charles Bryant, Redevelopment Department. The Police Department, our code enforcement is not present today. However, I will review their reports and try to answer any questions you might have. If I can't, then I'll take the questions and bring back an answer to you at the next meeting. The CompStat report for this particular time frame, October 20th 2013 through November 2nd, 2013. As you can see in the report itself, it outlines all of the percentage that has increased over the last year and decreased. I went to the last CompStat meeting on last Thursday. Chairman Tooley was at that meeting also, and we found that we still have a lot of activities in Midtown, especially in burglaries, stolen cars, and activity where people, especially this season, advise people to make sure they don't leave the car unlocked. A lot of cars that's being stolen are cars that are left with the keys in them, and the cars that are being broken into are cars that have purses, different cell phone and items like that in plain view. So the police department is asking that we help them out and making sure that the cars are locked, they don't leave the keys in the car running, and that anything valuables are not in plain view, so people walk by and see and break your window and go in and steal what's inside. So again, if you have an opportunity to go to CompStat, you'll find out a lot of information that's provided by the police department. The last CompStat meeting for this year will be, I think it's the 18th or 19th. It's the next Thursday. In December, in January, they will start going to 3:30, I think, 3:30 or 4 o'clock meeting for CompStat. So they're going to be changing that. That way, they'll be able to provide more information to the public, whoever attends the CompStat meeting. Yes, question?
Mr. Bryant, are they doing anything actively to go around in the apartment complexes? Because it seems as if over several of the reports that the cars that are stolen are being parked or left in apartment complexes, I guess, where they could go back and access the car at will.
Okay. Unfortunately, a lot of the apartment complexes are not cooperating with the police department. A typical example would be, a lot of them don't have the cameras visible that they can go back, and if something happens, they can actually go back and look at the cameras. Example would be the Daytona Beach Housing Authority. They don't have cameras, and it makes it hard for the police department when they don't have cameras to look at. And that's one of the areas that we have problems with. I know at Walmart, the police department was working with them at one time to try to curtail the activity outside of Walmart, but for some reason that's not happening anymore. But the police department, they're active in going out and trying to catch a lot of these people doing stuff. You'll be surprised and amazed about how much information that they have on people that actually are committing the crimes. It's unbelievable. An example was last week they had a 12-year-old that was breaking in houses, that was storing the stuff that he was stealing in a vacant property, and actually doing it for an adult that was paying them $5 for stuff. They would give them a laundry list of things that they needed, and they bring it back to them. They give them $5. And this one in particular was living with his aunt. She brought him out to the jail, to the police department, turned him over to the police department. He actually told on his buddies, and at the end of the day, they couldn't find a place to put him, so they end up calling the aunt to come back and pick him up. So the police department is doing everything they could do to get crime off the street, but a lot of times their hands are tied, and these guys end up right back on the street again.
Is there anything that this board or the city can do to work with housing authority? Because I am aware of that activity going on, and it has been reported on several occasions that some adults are having students break into people's homes, broad daylight, and steal their valuables and putting them in vacant homes or a lot next to a vacant home. And it does not appear that the housing authority is really doing anything to help the residents.
Well, I don't want to say anything bad about the housing authority. I would think it would help if someone were to bring it to the attention again to the board and ask them if they would work with the police department to try to curtail that activity. I know they're doing probably what they can do. A lot of times funding is the problem, but it's becoming a big issue.
Yes, ma'am.
That goes back to the state and our elected officials. Volusia County is the only county in the state of Florida that I'm told when it comes to juvenile delinquency, when they're released, they're just released, like you said. They can get caught for stealing a car, go to the center. If they don't have a bed, someone has to pick them up. When they're released, they don't say, okay, tomorrow at 8:30, you need to report to this center, and these are the guidelines you must follow. It's like putting them on probation. So I feel like they know the system, the ones that keep repeating the cycle, and because people see them get in trouble and they're released quickly and they're back out, that okay, nothing's going to happen to the kids. They're going to take them out there and send them back to the parents. I think we need to hold our city commissioners, our councilmen, we need to hold people accountable for the positions that they have, because this is our city. And if we just continue to let this go on, it just adds to this, CompStat report. So I think we need to start somewhere. And, reading the minutes and the statement that Pastor Bahu made about the free services for women that are victims of domestic abuse and rape. It's people living in fear because they know who's doing it, but they are afraid to say this person did this to me out of retaliation. But if they don't go to the centers to be checked, if they don't go to the seminars, because they fill out a statement, do you want help? Do you want counseling after the fact to help them? And you would be surprised. And it's not all teenagers, young ladies. There are a lot of women living in fear because they feel like nothing's going to be done, because he may go to jail, but he comes back out. Where is he going to come? Right back to where he lived. Well, I can't keep moving because this person comes back to where, I live. So they feel like their choices are null and void. And I'm going to say this. It hurts me when Mr. Bryant and Reed work to put a workshop together, or Ms. Bethune puts a workshop together, or Ms. Hurd puts a workshop together, to help the community, and they don't come. And they don't come because of fear. A lot of these crimes in this CompStat report, people know who did them, but they will not report it because they are afraid. And when you're afraid to tell it, it keeps happening in our neighborhood, which we're trying to get a master plan set up for investors to come. But if an investor comes to the city and asks for the CompStat report and they see this, they're not going to invest in our neighborhood. So it's just a constant circle of we're just beating a stick. And until we make a change, and I'm going to say we, because we're all responsible for Midtown. So I think if the fear factor can get pushed down and we hold our officials accountable for making things balance out, it'll never be even, but balance out to a positive, I think, we would see a change in this area. So if that could be relayed, and I'll call the city commissioner and tell her, this is a problem. So that not having an assessment center for juveniles to come to be processed after they've been released is a #1 priority. If you go to any other county and a juvenile gets in trouble, they have to go to an assessment center. And if they don't, they take them back.
Well, we do understand exactly what you are saying, and yes, the commissioners, elected officials should become more involved. And I appreciate if you do make a phone call, because it is time for us to have a general meeting, maybe at the Dickerson Center, with the Zone 6 Commissioner about some things. Mr. Bryan, you may continue.
I'm finished if we don't have any more questions for the CompStat report.
I have a comment. One of the things that I like to see, and I've stated this prior, is that we have something positive for our young folks to do. And we put a lot of dollars into the back end of our system rather than some stuff up front. All the things that normally keep our kids' attention and keep them involved in something positive, we have taken away. If you go back to the school system, you go back into the activities, you go back into the community, and there's really nothing to do. You have some churches that are actively trying to engage young folks, but the resources are not there. I think we have pooled our resources in a different direction, and somewhere along the line, as leaders, as a way to bring our community closer together, is pooling and pulling our key leaders together in some sort of format, whereas we can get some ideas from them how to pool resources together. I understand everybody wants to be the head and everybody wants to be the captain and the superhero and so forth, but the key is we've got to come together to see what makes our community better. And there really, when you look around, think about it, how many activities are there that's positive for these kids to get into? I mean, the basketball courts, light goes off at a certain time. There are no tournaments, local football games. You got to pay to use the stadium or pay to use different things at venues that we have. So the kids find something else to do, and then the mindset of the younger ones are manipulated by those of age or those that can manipulate them. And so when you're looking at that stuff, and kids are just seeing dollars. So we're dangling the goal before them. It's an easy way to get a few dollars, and they'll go do it. They'll watch you. They have nothing else to do but sit and watch when you drive away, and they understand when you're coming back, and so they do their things. But if you're able to engage them and provide something, and some of it is peer pressure, some of it is about us investing the time. We are all so busy, and I said us, all of us, but at the same time, if we're going to make an impact into Midtown, we've got to take some time and go and do some footwork or leg work where we can get some key people that are truly, really invested in our community. I think that's going to be the key. Prevention works. I've worked in prevention for 25 plus years. It's not as measurable as substance abuse or one of these other areas, but it works. And the impact that prevention makes, you really can't measure the value of it, but it makes a difference. So that's something I would say for us to do, maybe as a board. I think the meeting at Dickerson Center may be a good start. And just us calling some of the people we know to come and attend that meeting may be a start.
Thank you, Pastor Bahu. This reminds me of the activity last evening. I won't say too much about it at Greater Friendship Baptist Church, the movie Faith. And I was surprised that people were not there. I mean, over capacity. That's what I was looking for, and they were not there. But I will talk more about that later. Involvement.
Okay. I know we had an activity at our church. We had over 4,000 people out there on the lawn, but they're looking for free stuff. They're looking for safe stuff. They're looking for things. So that's your key. So.
Mr. Bryan.
Okay, you have before you also the code enforcement report provided by Officer Lopez. I won't go through it. You had a chance to review. If you have any questions, then I'll try to entertain any questions you might have.
I have a question. According to city law and state law, if someone is working on a home, doing any type of construction, they are supposed to have a permit, and if that is the law, the permit is supposed to be posted, so if someone passes, they see it hanging up, stating that there is a permit issue for them to do work.
Well, I think that's the case. There's certain kinds of activity that do not require a permit, but generally, yes.
Such as gutting an apartment complex, painting, stucco, just changing inside and out.
I don't think painting by itself would require a permit. So there's limitations on, you have to have a minimum type of activity in order to require a permit.
Okay, I'm going to make reference to this report. The young lady that lives at 231 Riva Street, she bought that property. It was a 2-unit apartment. She gutted it. She made it a home. She had her permits and everything. She stuccoed it. It stayed unpainted probably for 2 years. And she got a notice from the city saying that she had X number of days to paint her house because by law, a house cannot be stuccoed and unpainted. The funny thing about it is the property next to her is still 2 apartment complexes. They have gone in and totally gutted it. They've stuccoed it on the outside. They've painted it and refurbished it. Riva Street, Mr. Chestnut, the side across from where he used to have the display. So my concern is, if the call comes into code enforcement, oh, there's a house that's not painted, but it's stuccoed because it's considered unfinished when it's just the gray stucco. That's what she was told. She panicked. I told her, call code enforcement. They gave her time to find someone to paint it, spray it, or whatever. Who makes these rules? And if you're going to make a rule, it needs to be for everybody. I mean, there's a house in Midtown where people take their cars, and this guy does full mechanic work in the driveway, and his driveway is pitch black from oil and grease, and people standing around sitting waiting for the cars to be done. And I'm like, but that's in a residential neighborhood. We know that's wrong. So my thing is, there's so much that goes on in Midtown that's wrong. You call it in,
And nothing is done.
they say they're over, they have so much, and they'll get to it. But here are people that invest, bought a home and everything, and she was forced to do something quickly that she couldn't afford, but she got it done. Because when she heard lien and, all that kind of stuff, she's like, what do? I said, call code enforcement, have them come out. And they told her the same thing, we'll give you time to get it painted. So she calls me last week, and I go by there, and I'm like, when? She said, in 2 weeks. She said, and they worked at night. They were over there hammering and bamming and everything. Plastic up to the windows. I went by today on the way to the meeting. It's done. It's beautiful. So my thing is, why did she have to have a permit? And they came in and did all that work in a matter of 2 weeks without a permit.
I don't have an answer for that one.
See,
But the only thing is, a lot of times it's just like the police department. A lot of people are called in. Once we get a complaint, we have to act on it. A lot of times we driving around, code enforcement, I drive around, we might miss something. But if someone brings it to our attention, then we go out and check it, Because if you had called me and told me the issue, then I would have went out personally and checked it, and then I would have got involved with code enforcement. But a lot of times we don't see different things. That's why I say at every meeting, please call me if you have an issue. Call me, and I'll try to act on it, or I'll get code enforcement involved in it.
Well, I didn't know you my understanding sort of this year was, if it's code enforcement, call it into them.
If
And-
it's-
And I know that you get involved with them, you have everything else to do, but that's their job.
But if it's Midtown redevelopment area, I'm the project manager. I'm ultimately responsible for what goes on in my area. So if there's something going on, I need to know about it so I could get it to the right resources and get it to the right people to try to get it taken care of.
Okay. I have one more question. We have a sign law in the city, and we've discussed this meeting after meeting after meeting. Chip Wood stated, by law, a store merchant cannot cover his windows. There's a certain percentage that has to be uncovered. Martin Luther King, Orange Avenue, George Ingram, every convenience store, the hair stores, you cannot see in the store because it either has 15,000 signs plastered on it, or they have their merchandise striping the walls. Now, I know a few of them are doing it because of where their register's placed. But according to city law, we can't just take lottery, beer, cigarettes, and everything that Pepsi, Coke, Budweiser, and I mean, just cover the front of a store. Every store in Midtown is like that. And I know you've spoken to some, but it's like they take it for a joke. So at what point do we hold merchants accountable to the law? Not to something Mr. Bryant said, but to the law that's on the books. Because it's deplorable, it's disgusting. There are stores I won't even go in because of the way they look. I'm just being honest. And there are stores I've been in that I won't purchase anything from because of the smell and the filthy floors and what they sell. That's just me, one person. I don't know if I'm the only person that sees that. But when do we hold these merchants accountable to sticking to the law? If you're going to fine somebody for not painting a stuccoed house, you need to fine these merchants for covering these storefront windows up. Because my understanding is it helps for people to be able to see in and out in the event of something being committed, an act being committed.
Mr. Brown, I think,
And I don't think that it's your job or Reed's job to have to keep going back telling people over and over. But I feel like if you put those fines on them and stick to it, it'll be a change. I mean, you have stores from the ground up, 5 feet wide. You can't even see in.
Mr. Bryan, may I say that I understand exactly what Mrs. Cato is saying, but sometimes maybe we just need to come and be more vocal at the commissioner meetings rather than beating a horse here. The commissioner meeting where the leaders, we're leaders too, are there.
They live in the community.
Big partner?
The commissioners live in the community.
I know, but I'm saying on those nights that they have commissioner meetings, come and just report all of this to them continuously.
I will. I won't watch it on TV.
Continuously.
I'll come.
Maybe they'll hear you then, because you see who we have here.
Well, hopefully they're watching this.
Okay, Mr. Bryan.
No more questions. I'm finished with the code enforcement report.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bryan, for those reports. We will move on to action item, Development 2013-102, BCU Comprehensive Sign Plan Amendment. Mr. Bryan.
Okay. Board, this is a request by Rob A. Merrill III, Esquire, Cobb Cole, on behalf of Bethune-Cookman University, BCU, to modify the approved Comprehensive Sign Plan, CSP, for BCU, located at 640 Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune Boulevard. The proposed modification will allow for the graphics on an existing electronic message center EMC sign and the replacement of an existing campus sign with electronic message center EMC sign. The project description: the subject property is generally located in an area bound by Magnolia Avenue to the south, Franklin Street to the west, George W. Ingram Boulevard to the north, and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard to the east. The subject property is a university campus of various education, athletic, administrative, performing arts, and dormitory facilities. The original CSP for BCU was approved at the March 6, 2013 City Commission meeting, resolution number 13-66. The proposed request is to allow graphics on an EMC sign located at the corner of West International Speedway Boulevard, ISB, and North Lincoln Street. The proposed changes will also change an existing campus information sign with a campus EMC sign. The sign located, there's a correction to that. It says in the report the sign location is not visible to any public right-of-way. It is visible from the right-of-way, and a copy of the approved CSP with proposed changes has been provided for your review. That's in attachment A. The project analysis, the proposal, the purpose of the CSP is control the development of signs and graphics on the BCU campus. Before any signs or replacement or location of existing signs can take place, review of the CSP must be done to confirm the proposed locations, types, and sizes of the sign. The CSP allows for increases in total allowable sign area by less than 10% cumulative over a 5-year period. Also, requests to amend these, the approved CSP must comply with the sign types permitted by the CSP and will be reviewed and approved by the city staff. The CSP allows a limited number of size of signage in comparison to the large and expanding campus. I'm not going to go through the entire report. You do see the signs here that we are talking about making changes to. The applicant is here tonight. He's going to come forward. He has a PowerPoint presentation which he will get come before you. But based on the information that staff has, the request amended to the Bethune-Cookman University Comprehensive Sign Plan will be in compliance with the LDC and Comprehensive Plan if approved by the action of the City Commission. Mr. Dawes.
Thank you, Charles. Rob Merrill for the record. Thank you, Madam Chair and board members for having us here tonight. I have a few handouts I want to give you. We have a PowerPoint, but it's kind of hard with the size of the screens here for you to see, I think, the detail. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to pass a few things out to you real quickly. Let me start by saying I think it was probably about a year ago or so that we appeared in front of the board with this package that Charles passed out to you all before the meeting, which is the original comprehensive sign plan with a couple of small amendments that we've made to it since then. We worked with Chuck Cameron from Central Signs, who's here with us tonight, if you have any questions about any of the pictures or anything, to try to come up with essentially all of the signs that we might need for the next 20 or 30 years at the campus. And really looked at it to sort of create some themes and some continuity to the signage there, which I think the plan, I think you all agreed with us about a year ago, brought forth a good plan for signage out here. Now, since that time, a couple things happened. One, we discovered a sign that needed to be rebuilt, and I'm going to show you a picture of that sign. Is the second of the two signs I want to talk about. But if you start on your handout there, go to the second page, you'll see a picture of the existing sign that's in front of the Performing Arts Center on ISB. And that sign now, the part where it says Homecoming Week 2013, that part is an electronic message center sign. It used to be one of the little signs with the three sides that spins around and shows three different messages, and we put the electronic in there, which is far superior from a lot of respects. And that was part of the original plan. Now, since then, and I'll tell you something about that, the reason why I'm showing you this picture is because that's what you're allowed to do. You're allowed to have two colors, and you're allowed to have words only. No pictures of any kind. No more than two colors. That's what the code says. Now, the code does say if you have a comprehensive sign plan, you want to do something different, you can bring it to the board and see if they like it, and you can put it in your plan. So the next page, and I apologize for the resolution here, I lost some of it in the copies. The next page shows you if you start to use pictures and more color, it actually gives you a better looking sign. And so, for instance, the sign on the left there shows a football. And the box office, so you kind of get an idea just by looking at it what you're talking about, football, rather than to have to read all of the words on there. I think it's actually a more effective way of doing it, and I think your staff agrees with us. So that's the first thing we're asking. Really, it's only two things to change. One is to allow more colors and some pictures on the sign. Now, I want to make it clear to you that these are not moving pictures. These signs do have the capability, technically, to be a television set, essentially. They can, and you've seen some of these ones that have moving pictures. Holly Hill allows that. I think New Smyrna, some other places do allow those things. So if you've seen them, those aren't allowed. So we're talking about static graphics only. And then if you look at the next page with this sign here, I'm going to show you where it is in a second, but it's essentially behind Whitehall and in front of the Student Center there along that major, you can kind of see the Student Center in the background there and the pretty major pedestrian pathway that runs between those two areas. So it's a place that's very visible to a lot of the students, and so it's a good place to get messages to them. And this is the existing sign, which I think you can tell is in disrepair. And then if you look at the next page, this is a rendering, obviously not an actual sign, but the area where you see blood drive today at Student Center would be an electronic message center sign, much like what's in front of the Performing Arts Center, and it can have changing messages. So we can get a lot of messages to the students, on a regular basis by having this here. Now, as Charles pointed out, this sign is actually visible from the right-of-way on MMB. But if you're driving, you don't see it. You have to really stop. It's a regulated sign, so we needed to deal with it here. Now, we originally, when we did the first plan, we didn't catch that. So the fact that it was considered to be visible, we needed to come back and provide for it, so that's what we're doing here tonight. So pretty straightforward. And I guess the last page there just shows you, we just did a Google Maps aerial and show you the two, you look at the two yellow pins there. The one on the bottom side of the page is the one in front of the PAC, and then the other one back there is behind Whitehall. Just to give you an aerial view of where the two signs are. And with that, folks, any questions that you want to ask of me or Mr. Cameron, or Pam Brown's also here with me tonight from the university, and I'm sure she'd be happy to answer any technical, legal questions you might have. Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Kiddo?
So based on what we received in our packet, the First Amendment, when I'm speaking of the older signs, so you would take...
What page are you on?
5.
Let me get to your page. Okay.
So when it comes to the class of 1964, that old sign, looking at the new one, you will keep all of the class signs on the sign.
Yeah, the idea is to keep those on and just rebuild the old signs. And again, what you're looking at here is a page right out of the book that we already approved.
Right.
So yes, that's the answer.
Okay.
Yep.
So are you just going to remove the sign and put class of 64 back, or are you going to just go in and encase? So you're totally removing the sign, keeping the classes, putting a totally new sign up, and just adding the class marking back?
Well, I'll let Chuck address that. I don't think each one of these individual signs have been dealt with in terms of how they're going to be replaced, but some of them need replacing, some of them can be rebuilt. So, Chuck, you want to?
Just for the record, I'm Charles Cameron with Central Signs. Yes, what we've been doing is, as the budget has allowed, we've been doing one little project at a time. And because of the Alumni Association, it's a critical part of that plan that we keep the nostalgia and the class signs that have been donated by those classes. So when we're redoing them, some of them are in good shape and it's not as much work, and some of them have to be completely replaced. But we're trying to keep the original look and dress up. For instance, we're not doing any more signs where you can visibly see the structural poles that support a sign. We're encasing those either in authentic brick or in aluminum with the same color scheme as the sign cabinet. So we're trying to keep some continuity for a little bit of the history of the college, and when the students come back for different events, their class signs are still there.
Okay, my next and final question. When you come on campus and you go into the horseshoe, if you need direction, say library, humanities, student center, will there be boards on campus giving you direction as to, say, Paulus Swisher Library C, and as you drive down, there's a C on that building? I mean, what type of direction will people have on both sides of campus directing them to dorms?
If you look in here, we have a page with proposed directory signs. Now, so far, we've only done 2 directory signs. So, obviously signs are expensive. So as the budget permits, our plan is to have directory signs throughout the whole campus. But we've got to work with the financial end of it. So as we redo signs, they're going to be completely compliant with what you see here. And
These actually allow several of those types of signs. So this is kind of the book that we have to live by when we bring the signs in, but we'll be bringing them in 1, 2, or 3 at a time as opposed to all at once.
Am I to understand that we're approving all of these signs?
You already did. A year ago.
Okay.
We're just talking about 2 of them tonight.
There's a sign in here that where it's clearly noted that it exceeds some area restrictions.
Absolutely.
And that's all
tonight was in existence, and it's a lot bigger than those signs are supposed to be at that place, at that location, existing, and we knew that, and everybody knew that. So the retrofitting of it with the EMC was part of the original approval, acknowledging that it didn't meet those EMC standards. And we have a lot of signs in the city here that are not going to meet those standards. They have to come through this process, so Ken.
That is the approved signage, comprehensive signage program, is that right?
With the 2 additions I just talked about tonight. The only thing that's changed are those 2 things there. That's it. Well, technically, that's just an exhibit that I brought you to show you the amendment, to highlight it for you. The changes that are taking place only have to do with those 2 signs.
Yes.
The sign on MMB and Martin Luther King.
Microphone.
Oh,
She wants you to pull them.
the sign on MMB and Martin Luther King, right there on the corner. I don't know what your plans for, but I would appreciate it if you have it front and back. Because when you come in from George Ingram, you can't read that sign.
You're talking to the guy who writes the words, not the guy that builds the sign, so I'm going to let him jump back up again.
There's
know which one
nothing
she's
on
talking
the
about?
back.
no.
Are there any plans for it?
And I sit there at the light, wanting to read what's on there,
Okay.
but there's nothing on the back of the sign. You can only see it going one way.
Right. We don't have any plans for that, but I will certainly address it with the right folks because, that's something we need to take a look at.
There are a lot of signs, and they're trying to sort of take a bite at a time, I think, and we'll make sure that was on the list. Sure, Pam?
Just so you know, Pam Brown, General Counsel, for the record. The president, we did the sign plan with the idea that over the next 4 or 5 years that we would replace, retrofit, and add new signs. But the primary goal in this year and next year is the refurbishing of the dormitories, residence halls, that's the new term. And so that's where the majority of the money, major renovations on the residence halls. And so as we do the residence halls, and they're doing some signs, and as we're near completion of the renovation of the existing residence halls, there'll be a lot more money, and so the signs should come forward a lot faster. But just so you know, the last 2 years were spent renovating the residence halls.
And I have a question. So that will dictate when it says that the school has an option for the brick base or the aluminum base versus just making a decision on which base style they want throughout the campus.
Right, and what we did was to try to pick 2 styles that looked aesthetically pleasing and similar. In some places, it looks better inside campus to have the aluminum, so we can have more signs, and then we may have the brick signs that are more expensive on the perimeter.
Okay, therefore, the class of 64, would that be brick or alumina? The class,
Would the class be making a donation?
Excuse me, I didn't hear you.
I said, would the class of 64 be making a donation? I'm just kidding.
I'm sure they will be doing the football season next year.
The brick's more expensive is all I'm saying.
Well, you know, the interesting thing is that some of the people, when you see it in person, they like the aluminum better. They think that it's more high-tech.
Well, I was just wondering, since that number just stood out.
Just imagine that.
Madam Chair, I have a question. This is a question I have, and I'm not sure where it goes, but is there or are there restrictions as to how many electronic signs within a given acreage within our city? I know we discussed this sometime. I sit on the planning board also, and that was one of the things we discussed.
Yes, there are, unless you're in a comprehensive sign plan or a plan development.
Okay.
Then it comes to a case-by-case basis. And based on the size of the university and the placement of this second one in particular, that we're talking about being very much internal to the campus, I think everybody's in agreement that it's proportionally, it makes sense.
It makes sense. Okay. And of course, the signage program is just wonderful. It's just an added feature to the university. It's great. I just want to make sure we're in compliance to our city codes.
Mm-hmm. And I hope you'll bring that to the planning board with us, because we'll be seeing them too. Thanks.
I'm very pleased with the report that you all have given tonight, but I was seriously about the class of 1964, and we probably will be getting in touch with you to see basically how much it would cost for that sign to be revamped and everything, in as much as I do think every class gives back to the college during their anniversary or whatever the case might be. So I'll be in touch with you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Are you ready for motion?
Okay. Looking at number 7, action item, are we ready for a motion? Dr. Jameson?
I move that we approve, what is it, DV 2013-102, the BCU Comprehensive Sign Plan Amendment.
Second.
It has been moved and properly second that the action item development 2013-102 comprehensive sign plan amendment be adopted as printed. Are you ready for the question?
Question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those not in favor? It has been approved by.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And please call.
I will. Redevelopment project updates. Moving on.
guess, Board, my first update was going to be, tonight is going to be the Light Up Midtown Parade and Health Fair, which was last Saturday, December the 7th. We had a great parade in spite of the fact that Holly Hill had their parade the same time we had ours. We had just under 50 entries into the parade. We actually had horses this year. I've been asked next year if I do it, that we do it the second Saturday in December, so we won't conflict with Holly Hill. That's under consideration. I see you looking at me, Ms. Hurd. We don't want to go against the grain. We think we have more participation next year if we work with Holly Hill to do so. But at the same token, I take consideration that this is the city of Daytona Beach. We are the largest city in the county of Volusia County, and if we decide to do the parade on the first Saturday in December next year, we'll do it then. We can't schedule around other people's schedule all the time. We make an effort to do so, but at the same token, we expect the residents of the city of Daytona Beach to support their own city. And so we're going to make every effort to plan the parade or whatever activities we have next year, so we won't conflict with them. But if we do, we just do. We went on this particular last Saturday. We had a great turnout as far as participants. The parade actually led into the health fair, which we had a lot of activity at the health fair. We had, I think, about 25, 30 health agencies out there at the health fair. A lot of people showed up. The kids came. We had kids activities and everything. We had performances by groups that showed up that I didn't even know was coming. You know, they showed up, they wanted to perform. I said, as long as you clean, if this is a family event, you can perform. Actually, I went to Midtown Center to pick up the hot dogs and hamburgers, and this young lady, she was just singing up something. And I said, oh, you sound pretty good. You want to come sing with me? She said, where? I said, follow me. She said, when? I said, now. And she followed me over to Daisy Stocking Park. She went in her car and pulled out a guitar and started playing and singing. She ended up singing about 5 songs. Everybody was clapping her. And they said, where did you find this? Met her. So we got a lot of talent in this community, and a lot of times they just don't have the opportunity to share their talent with other people. So, you know, I look forward to doing some other activities in the community where we could bring our youth in. I know Pastor Barr, who talked about activities that we need to bring our kids in. This is some of the things that I think we can do. They have a lot of talent, and all of it's not negative. You know, so we need to explore that and make sure that we can bring them in. Next, I would like to thank all the sponsors. I hope they're watching. I'm not going to call them out by name, but I thank each and every one of them that provide assistance with us on putting on this event. I thank the committee members, of which Ms. Kathy Washington is here tonight. She's one of my committee members. Actually, she'll be doing a presentation on December the 18th. I invite the board to come out. This is where we're going to award the best decorated residence and best decorated business for the Christmas activities. We have a plaque for them. And we ask you to come out and support this activity at the City Commission meeting on December the 18th. I would ask that the board and everyone that's out viewing this particular meeting, be it on TV, I would ask that our prayers go out to Commissioner White, Commissioner Kelly White. She lost her mother, and so I ask that we pray for her and her family. I know how it feels to lose a parent, so our prayers go out to her. She was very supportive of the Light Up Midtown affairs that we had. So we're going to ask to pray for her and her family while they're going through the loss of her mother. I would like to wish Miss Pat Hurd an early birthday. Her birthday is tomorrow. And also, today is my birthday. So happy birthday to me.
You 30? She said she's 29.
She's 29, I'll be 28 then. Okay. But, also I wanted to mention our Mr. Bill Shanks. I ask you to remember him in his prayers. I know he's been sick. I tried to get in touch with him. I haven't been able to get in touch with him. I know he was in the hospital at some point, but he was faithful in coming to our meetings, although he was an alternate. And this time in season, I ask that we pray, our prayers go out to everyone, families in need. If you have opportunity, if you have extra, please share it with people in the community, because there's a lot of need out there in the community, and we ask that you will share, but most of that you will pray for them, that they will get whatever they need, not necessarily what they want, but what they need for the holidays. And if you have a little extra food, share it with the hungry, because believe me, it will come back again on you. So please remember everyone, and I'd like to say in the closing of my remarks is I hope everyone have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year's. And if you don't hear from me no more this year, I'll see you next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other public comments? Public comments? Mrs. Washington is coming.
Good evening, everyone. Kathy Washington, 937 Lockhart. I'd just like to commend Mr. Bryant on a job well done. This past weekend, we worked like Trojan horses to make it happen, but it happened, and the community really appreciated. The young people, to see their faces with the bounce houses and the activities that were there for them. They come in the park and they had sad faces. But once they made the ornaments, put their names on them, hung them on the tree, went out to the bounce houses and ate, you saw a completely different individual. The parents even appeared to have a weight lifted off their shoulders. So I ask that next year, that we get you all involved as committee members. The committee itself, the steering committee itself, is working hard to make it happen, but on that particular day, we do need other individuals to assist. I'd like to also ask if, in fact, we do the parade on the first Saturday, if you would consider doing it at night, because that way it wouldn't be a conflict. And personally, when I was a child, the parade was at night. And the kids really enjoy it. So if we're going to do it on the first Saturday or first weekend, that we do it at night. And again, I'd like to say thank you. And I know the people in the community thank you, because they line the street waiting for the parade to come through.
Ms. Hurd, can I make a comment?
Thank you, Mrs. Washington. Dr. Bethune is next.
Greetings, this is Dr. Evelyn Bethune, 884 Winchester Street, Daytona Beach. Haven't seen you guys in a long time. It's good to see you again. I would like to say that the weekend with the parade and all the activities was wonderful. I would like to suggest that, and keep in mind that parents sometimes can't attend if their kids are marching in another parade. They have to go where their kids are going. Doesn't matter that they live in Daytona. So we have to be mindful that the conflict is not just about who lives in Daytona, but where their kids are having to go and participate. So keep that in mind when we're doing this planning. I have always wished that we would be able to do some kind of a calendar where we can all participate and not cross each other up so much, because many times we are torn in different directions, even though we would like to support certain things. So keep that in mind. In April of next year, we are doing the Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune Cultural Heritage Arts Festival. The date is the 6th through the 14th, and it is on and moving, so get on board. I will be sending you more information because we really want to make sure that Midtown participates at the highest level. We have many people coming from out of the area, and we want to make sure that people see our area in the best light. We are making it possible and hoping that investors and people who are doing things in other towns see the possibilities, because Midtown has great possibilities, and we need everything. So, you know, it's unlimited. Also, one other point of note, the park itself, Daisy Stocking Park, is, when I passed by tonight, it was lit up. The lights were on. And I am going to encourage the city to be as gingerly engaged in Midtown and Daisy Stocking Park as they are with Main Street and the Peabody and Ocean Center area, because my tax dollars help support the city of Daytona Beach, and I live in Midtown. And I do work with young people all the time, and we have a lot of professionals in our community who are looking for something to do, but are seldom asked. And so when we're talking about some of the things that are not being done, we have doctors who are working in Halifax who don't even know where Midtown is because they live west. However, if they're asked, they'll come into Midtown and do things. So when we're considering how we want to do things, just remember that there are people out there who are willing, but they may not know how to plug in. And some of us volunteer and ask and make ourselves available, but never get asked. And, you know, sometimes if you want new ideas, you got to ask new people. It's just that simple. And young people who know how to engage and get into the social networking, because marketing is really important. When you go into an event and nobody's there, sometimes it's because they just didn't know. And I'm plugged in, and sometimes I don't know, because we are not engaging social media at the level that we should if we want to get technically astute folks engaged, because they're not looking at snail mail anymore. And they're not looking at cards that are stuck on their windshield, because I take them and throw them in the trash. I hardly look at them. But I live in my Facebook, because that's how I sell my books. Okay, so keep that in mind when we're marketing. Find some young people that know how to do that stuff. They'll make it happen. Thank you. And have a great holiday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to make a comment in reference to what both of Ms. Washington and Ms. Bethune, Dr. Bethune had said about the parade. I wanted to be really active in a part of that event this past weekend, but like you say, other engagements. And if you're a part of a lot of the Greek organizations, we meet every first Saturday, and with our whole position on the executive board, it's hard for me to be able to get out, because my intentions were to be at the parade, but the times conflicted. So, yeah, if we could consider that for an evening or however you do it, it would be great.
Just too bad now.
Okay, thank you for your comment. At this, there are other comments from the audience.
Pierre Lewis, 130 South Franklin Street. I want to say happy birthday to Charles. I know it was your birthday, and happy early birthday to Pat Hurt. And to the board, hello again. I haven't been here for a while, but since I started my mentoring program with the young boys, I've got the young gentlemen's program going on. I got about 35 boys right now, and I meet with them quite a bit in the evenings. But the one thing that the last Friday when I took the boys out to dinner. It's just me and 35 young black boys. One of the things that they talked to me about constantly over and over said that, Mr. Pierre, there's usually not a lot of things that's going on. But the conversation the last time when we talked was the fact that they had something to do. And that was thanks to the event that y'all put on. So that was the reason why I wanted to come here and say that whatever it is, that it's greatly appreciated. But the young boys, they said they were always looking for something to sort of keep them out of trouble. And they got my cell phone. They started calling. They went to the events that was there. And who was, I think, Ms. Washington said something about the bounce houses or something like that. Yeah, well, quite a few of the boys young gentlemen that are in my program, they were at the bounce houses. So it was greatly appreciated. That's what I wanted to say. They were looking around at it. So thank you. It's appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. Now we're at the board comments. Dr. Jameson?
Something that that was mentioned is the, I guess, communication. We all assume that at this time that most of the information on what's going on goes through Facebook and the internet and all that. But we must realize that a lot of people do not have internet and that nobody reads the newspaper. So we need to find a way to get the information out, what's going on in, let's just say, ordinary methods, because the seniors and people my age, a lot of them are really not into computers, and the kids are not really into computers. So when things happen, we need to find another way of getting the information out, because a lot of people tell me all the time, I didn't know that was going on. So we need to communicate or find a better method, or go back to the old method, include the old method in getting information out. And also, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, and all that other stuff.
Those good things. Okay, thank you. Okay.
Well, just to piggyback off of what Dr. Jameson said, I think you just have to be very, very diverse in how you communicate. Because with the seniors, they probably do not know a lot of the technology, but with the new 20th century people, that's all they do is technology. They don't read anything, not unless it comes through one of those electronic devices. So just from working in the system, we do have to just be diverse in how we communicate to make sure we're meeting and reaching out to all people. But at the end of the day, I want to say happy birthday to both of these individuals here today, and have a happy Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you.
I've been looking at the work that's being done on Granada Avenue in Ormond Beach. And it's really very, very nice. And it really bothers me a lot, because we had an entire streetscape plan that went from Nova to the railroad tracks, which got screwed up because of incompetence in some departments here. And they just wasted time, and we lost the pricing. We end up with a little piece, and we're not going to end up. Let me start from over again here. If we cannot create a sense of destination on that piece of ISB that runs through Midtown, we're not going to succeed with Midtown, because that is where the tax increment money is going to come from. It ain't going to come from the parks. So we need something there. And why we can't have what other cities can have is very bothersome to me. Aside from that, you'll have a nice Christmas.
Thank you, Ms.
And I
Cato.
hope we do better next year. And we've done good this year, too.
That's right, we work hard, Ms. Cato.
Merry Christmas.
Okay, that's it, Ms. Cato. Pass the ball.
Yes. Happy birthday, Mr. Bryan, and happy early birthday, Ms. Hurd, who stepped out. We certainly appreciate all of you, and thank you so much for allowing me to serve. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we'll see you, Lord's willing, next year.
I guess I'm just taking over here. Our chair had to step out, so if there are no more comments or questions, this meeting will be adjourned.
Good job.
That-
There we go. All right.